just could not resist covering this story because it proves what I've been saying is true about the Diddycrats all along. The Diddycrats are Jerome Crow, which is what I call Jim Crow 2.0. So now we can give it a cumulative name. We can call the Diddycrats they're still their Jim Crow ancestors, right? But then they are also Jerome Crow, and then together they are the party of subjugation, oppression, and straight bullying tactics. And how do we know this? Well, we know this because Lindy Li, who is a former fundraising chair for the Democratic National Convention, has recently come out and she is not holding back. She is like, you know what? I'm about sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I am sounding the alarm, and I am shedding light on what you guys do anytime someone dares to disagree and function in their freedom. Y'all take a look at this.
Now is former DNC fundraiser Lindy Li. Lindy, thanks for being here. You announced your exit from the Democrat Party after coming under attack for criticizing Vice President Harris and her campaign. You say you were basically ostracized. How so?
Ashley, Merry Christmas. It's wonderful to be with you.
Merry Christmas.
This has been a long time coming. My initial disillusionment became clear when I realized that essentially set $2.5 billion on fire. They raised $1.5 billion through the campaign, another billion through the super PAC Future Forward. And there's been no accountability. We still haven't gotten any answers as to why Oprah, a billionaire, got $2.5 million through her production company. Why couldn't she pay for it? She's an oligarch. She could have just paid for the production costs herself. And not to mention the fact that they spent $450,000 putting Kamala Harris's face on the sphere. Now tell me why that would be helpful. Tell me how that would help her win. Obviously, that was utter failure. And then they spent $500,000 essentially bribing Al Sharpton moments before he interviewed her. And this is our hard-earned money. This is the money that I worked so hard to raise. I raised millions of this, and donors are feeling burned. And let me tell you, although I might be the only one coming forward, I haven't met a single donor who disagrees with me.
So what's been the response, Lindy, since you made your announcement?
Vitriolic. And they say they're not a cult, but look at how they behave when one of their own dares to think for herself. The excommunication, the defamation, the public shaming, the boycott campaigns, the psychological terrorism. I no longer have comments on any of my social media, because it's just too much. I don't need that. It's just endless. And as soon as you step out of line, they will get you.
Yeah, that is clear. So what's next? Are you going to turn Republican, independent? What's next for you?
This all has been so fast for me, and actually someone scooped my own exit. Some random person on Twitter got 3 million views saying that Lindy Li is going to exit. I couldn't even own my own departure. So this is all happening really quickly for me, but you might see me at the inauguration. I don't want to say too much right now, but somebody on Team Trump already reached out to me. They've been incredibly gracious, and on day one, they were kinder to me and more humane than the DNC ever was.
Wow.
And I just think that speaks volumes, yeah.
I think you're right. I want you to comment on this one, Lindy. I want you to listen to what Bill Maher had to say, talking about the Democrats. Listen to this.
Remember him hugging Nixon, and then
so what?
I know, but at the time he was he was seen as a traitor.
It's so funny you mention that, because like today we live in this time when you're not allowed to have friends from the other side or cross lines politically. And I forgot that there's an example of that way back when.
Yeah.
A guy who crossed lines politically. Ooh, the worst thing you could ever do, be friends with a Republican? Call 911.
You know, the irony is, Lindy, that Democrats will always call Donald Trump a threat to democracy, and yet there is no democracy within their world. You either believe what they say or you are excommunicado. You are no longer worthy of any conversation.
Ashley, you're so right. And now I'm in exile, and I'm happier for it. And you know what? This is meant to happen. And I've had friends just in the last couple of days, so-called friends, block me, and just. Simply because I expressed a view that wasn't the doctrine, that wasn't officially sanctioned. This is kind of authoritarian, and I grew up in an authoritarian regime. This reeks of that. This is an American democracy. You know, what happened to the First Amendment?
Right, exactly. Well, it only exists if you agree with the doctrine. Yeah, go ahead.
You're so on point. Sorry, one last thing. I've been a conservative all my life. I've been saying that, and they're just not listening to me. All of a sudden, they're saying that I shifted. No, I grew up as a Christian conservative. This is just who I've been. And so they want to demonize anybody who's willing to, who has the courage to speak for herself.
Right. Well, Lindy, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and your bravery in this divided political world. And Merry Christmas to you.
All right, you guys. So you saw that. You had an opportunity to take all of that in. And Lindy Li, she said so much. So it's just a few things that I want to deal with. The first thing she mentioned was the lack of accountability from the Democratic Party. This woman has been on the inside, making connections with high dollar donors, and she's like, the donors are pissed. And she's like, the fact that $2.5 million was given to Oprah, Reverend Al Sharpton was bribed and given money, and then Kamala's face on the Sphere, she said, the wasteful spending and the lack of accountability has a lot of donors very, very angry. And so while I applaud this observation, what I'd like to talk to you guys is the fact that where has she been? This is not new, right? The Democrats didn't just wake up one day and decide to act as if they're accountable to no one and to just wastefully spend taxpayer money. They do this all the time. All you have to do is look into every municipality where they rule and there is no efficiency and they just enrich themselves. Like the money comes back to them and they spend it like it is water. They never attempt to be good stewards over what they've been given and to try to make the most of the money that's been allotted to them. This is one reason why I am actually glad that we have this new department called DOGE, because big government in general is just inefficient. But to have a department like DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is going to be a huge shift in American politics. And I think it is needed because of situations just like this. People like Kamala, who've never really earned their way into anything. And then most Democrats who are used to people giving them their vote in exchange for nothing in return. Are we shocked that they struggle in the accountability area? I am hoping that Americans actually pay attention to how they mismanaged all of that donor money. And I am hoping that the next go round, they are going to struggle to raise money because all they're going to do is more of the same. Something else that Lindy Li mentioned, she mentioned that the behavior from the left that she experienced was very cult-like. All this woman wanted to do was say, wait a minute, you guys, I raised all of this money on your behalf and my name is on the line. And this is what you failed to do. Instead of them accepting responsibility for what they failed to do, what they do is they act just like cult members. Think of the group Scientology, right? Whenever you have someone that defects, someone that wakes up, right? Just they smell the coffee and they decide that, wait a minute, something is not right here. The first thing that they do is they will try to shame you, bully you, subjugate you. They'll do whatever it is that they have to do to make sure everyone else stays away from you. And then they do it to hold you up as an example of this is what happens to you when you choose to buck ship. when you choose to jump rank and not fall in line and comply with our demands and what we want, this is what's going to happen to you. We're going to bombard your social media. We're going to make videos about you. And the thing about it is, it's not just white liberals. Like, it's Democrats in general who behave this way, but they have subsets. So you have the white liberals that do it. Those are the Jim Crow Diddycrats. And then you have the Jerome Crow Negroes such as Roland Martin and Al Sharpton and others, and your Van Joneses. All of them descend upon this woman to disparage her character and to gaslight the world, to make it look like she is doing something wrong and that she is wrong. This is how cults behave. And this is one reason why I spend a lot of time on my platform encouraging my audience, if you still consider yourself a Diddycrat or a Democrat, whatever, you really need to rethink. Be an independent, be a libertarian, be a Republican, whatever your hang-up is with the other party alignments is fine. But at some point, you have got to look at the writing on the wall and say something is significantly and severely wrong with the Democratic Party as a whole. Why? Because everywhere they rule, you've got poverty, you've got crime, you have this groupthink attitude to where you're not allowed to function in your freedom like an American and have an independent thought, but rather you have to fall in line. And they really do want you to function more like a cult member than an individual. And that is problematic. And I find it interesting that someone like Lindy Li, she can now see it now that she's defected. And now she's realizing that the Democrats have more in common with communist China than they do with liberty-loving Americans. She's like, I grew up under an authoritarian regime like this. Why does this feel like that? And I'm like, Lindy, it's because this is who they are by design. Democrats, or Diddycrats as I like to call them, are masters looking for slaves, and people who fall in line with their ideology and worldview and political platform are slaves looking for masters. They want to be subjugated. They want to be oppressed. And then some of them just have Stockholm syndrome. They just, no matter how bad it gets and how bad their master treats them, they keep running back into the arms of their oppressor. They keep running back to the arms of their oppressor because they have Stockholm syndrome. And then you have those that suffer from cognitive dissonance, meaning they know that something is wrong. They know that they're being mistreated. They know that their money is being mismanaged, yet it hurts and it is too painful for them to acknowledge this observable, objective truth, because the moment that they acknowledge it, then they are held accountable, and then the onus is on them to do something about it. And most people are too fearful. They're too cowardly. They're too afraid to stand alone, apart from their friends and family and coworkers, and do what Lindy Li did. And was like, y'all are crazy. I don't want to have no parts of y'all no more. And so overall, what I wanted to do was, one, applaud Lindy Li, to let her know that regardless of where she decides to plant her political flag, that no one deserves to be treated the way she's been treated, all because she spoke the truth. The Democrats did mismanage. They blew through donor money and didn't think twice about it. And then they're mad when someone has the nerve to point it out and to say something about it. And the thing about it is, she had to speak up, because her thing is, when I raise money, I've got large dollar amount donors that are trying to look to me to say, well, what happened with the money? And then when she goes back to the DNC and looks, it's like, okay, so this is what y'all spent the money on? Do you really think I can go back to these people and say, well, this is what they spent the money on, and they're going to be okay with that? I'm actually glad that this is happening. You know why? Because the donor class of the Democratic Party is really who's been footing the bill. regular working class people who may fall lockstep with the Democrat Party, for the most part, they're small dollar donors, and it's not a lot of them. They might give money, but for the most part, the average American, in my opinion, I don't think is giving to the Democratic Party in droves because of how they are mismanaging the money and the lack of accountability and transparency. And so for Lindy Li to blow the lid off of this, it is incredible. And not just that. I thought it was incredible that she said the Trump campaign has reached out to me and they've been nothing but gracious. This is not the first interview that Lindy Li has done where she has noted that her political adversaries, quote unquote, i.e. Republicans and conservatives, she says they've always been kind to her. Even when they disagreed, they've always been gracious to her. They've been nothing but warm and friendly and amicable. I want to tell Lindy Li, sis, the reason why you didn't get that from the left is because at the core of the ideology that undergirds the party, those people are evil and wicked. They are vile. It comes from who they are at their soul, at the core of their soul. They're a bunch of psychopaths. They are a bunch of perverts. They are a bunch of anti-Christian bigots who have no joy because they do not know God. And if you are still over there, by and large, especially if you are a pastor and you are still aligning yourself with the Diddycrat party, I'm looking at you trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with you, because if you claim the name of Christ, you just might be spiritually dead. Not only are you spiritually dead, but you are a coward because you know who these people are. The veil has been lifted off. These people are exposing themselves, and their very own party is starting to expose them. Tulsi Gabbard jumped ship. RFK jumped ship. And now one of their high-ranking fundraisers, she's now jumping ship. Well, if everybody is jumping ship, the problem can't be with all of those who are walking away for legitimate reason and for legitimate causes. They're walking away because they are now realizing that as long as you agree, just like if you've ever either been in a relationship with a narcissist or been friends with a narcissist or had a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic coworker, everything is fine. Until you disagree. The moment you disagree, you got to cancel Christmas. Those types of people, they lose their mind. And the Democratic Party is nothing but a party of psychopathic, narcissistic, crazy people, full of perversion and evil. And the moment you walk away, they're like, we're not letting you go without trying to steal and snatch a piece of your soul. And that is what Lindy is experiencing. And so I don't know if she professes to be a Christian today. I know she mentioned that she was raised with Christian conservative values, and that's who she's always been. And if that's the case, my question is, well, what the heck were you doing ever over there on the Diddycrat side? But my prayer is now that the light has exposed the unfruitful deeds of darkness from that party, that she'll now be able to move forward and to find a home where if she is a Christian, other Christians can come alongside her. And if not, just find a political home with people who are not going to demand your 100% loyalty and worship, right? They want obeisance. They want you to bow the knee. And then the moment that you try to hold them accountable or just disagree, they will do like most cults do, ostracize you, and then attempt to castigate you and to paint you in a horrible light in an effort to win they do it to break you down, so ultimately that you'll come to your senses and come groveling and crawling back to them, and then basically saying, whatever it is that you want me to do, I will do. I am hoping that she stands firm despite this political persecution. I am hoping that she continues to be vocal and continues to speak out and to expose to the world exactly who these freak nasty perverts really are. And so, you guys, I just wanted to share that video. And what I would like for you to do, let me know down in the comments below. Are you shocked that the information that Lindy Li has been exposing, are you shocked saying, I had no idea that the Democrats was this wicked? And hear me clearly, I'm not saying that the Republicans are righteous, but she has a point there. She has a point in that you don't see this kind of bullying, subjugation tactics happening over on the right. But it is definitely characteristic of what happens when you attempt to buck the system and defect from the left. But whatever you guys think, let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, you guys, don't forget to stand firm. Grace and peace.